Welcome to Politics Plus with Nkosi Zulu. On this episode, we welcome Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane. We are going to be dwelling into legal issues about her impeachment and other issues related to politics complexities. From changing or hopping from EFF to MK, we are all going to be addressing that. Welcome to the platform, Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane. We welcome you, the Honorable Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for welcoming me to this platform.
And
Yes.
I know that we've got a very limited time, and we've had this engagement before. It's sort of going to be just a continuation of what we had discussed earlier. But more so, Honorable Advocates, you've basically led, some of South Africa's most controversial issues when it comes to investigations. We, the masses or the public at large, will basically want to find out or learn on what strategies have you used to investigate such issues, more especially issues of, the Gupta family in relationship with the then president at the time, and, the ABSA reports, the CIA, and, even the Fred Farm reports. I mean, what strategies do you basically apply in such?
Okay. Thank you so much for the follow-up interview. Indeed, as the public protector, the fourth public protector, was appointed in 2016 October. And remember, the appointment of the public protector is a very transparent process. Actually, the national legislature, that ad hoc committee, recommended my name to the president. That's how the process is. And that's what is also required in terms of the International Ombudsman Institute guidelines of an independent ombudsman or public protector. And the same principles, we are using them in the African
Parliament.
African Ombudsman and Mediators Association.
Oh, yes.
So as the public protector, when I was appointed, engaging the leadership of the institution, remember the process of arriving at the institution when it was compulsory for me to go and brief the Committee of Justice on the annual report of the work which was done by my predecessor,
Thuli
Madonsela. And that's where then I started engaging with the team, issues of understanding how they were operating and stuff like that. So you asked about strategies which I used. Remember, when you arrived at an institution, you have a team which is already there. You have people who've been working with the institution for a longer period. As the public protector, you are like an executive officer, executive authority, like the minister in a department. Then you have your CEO of the institution, who's responsible for the finances, HR, and everything of the institution. Then under the CEO, you have then the various executive managers, the chief investigators, the senior investigators. While dotted line, you've got the deputy public protector. As the public protector, then you can delegate any responsibility. It's within your control. Though the deputy is also appointed by Parliament through the same process, but when they come, they sign with you.
To you.
Yes, a performance agreement. Then you delegate the work to them. They must report to you what you do. Remember, when I was appointed, Malunga was the deputy public protector. Then
yes.
Under CEO, then you find all those
Investigators,
functional work. So when they investigate, you have your standard operating procedures, how you conduct investigations. You've got your service standards, which will then guide you. Operational documents. How long do you take to investigate a matter? Yeah? And then each investigator has a project plan if you receive an investigation, you then have to do your investigation within a certain time frame according to the project plan, which links up to what you are promising the public in your strategic document. Because when you say I'm doing an early resolution matter, a delay in issuing an identity document. If a person comes and we say that will take us 6 months, and then if a person comes, we write to the department, we inquire. If it's a straightforward matter, they respond. We say we give ourselves 6 months.
So
if
to
it's
intervene.
exactly. If it's a service delivery matter, it involves possibly a number of complaints relating to Home Affairs delaying to process IDs, to process asylum permits, to process pension from pension administration.
So
So that's what we look into. Yeah.
I just want to guide you in this. That I just wanted to find out basically if you as a public protector, a new public protector that has been appointed by the processes of Parliament.
Yeah.
Do you? I just wanted to find out if you come in with your new sets of rules and strategies, or you basically are compelled to use the current ones.
You are not compelled. The only thing which compels you is the law, because you need to be respecting and be bound by the Constitution and by the Public Protector Act. And even those standard operating procedures, your service standards, your policies,
they conform
link
to the
up
Constitution.
to the law, the Constitution, the Public Protector Act. But you ask about the strategy, especially the very same complex matters. There are those matters which are conduct failure matters, are corruption-related matters. Those ones, we gave ourselves 24 months to 36 months to investigate. Investigations are conducted by the investigators. And the investigations which reach my table as the public protector are the ones where we will end up issuing a report. There's a number of investigations which are completed which don't reach even my table.
Okay. I want us to go into that one. I understand you very well, because then it leads us to our next submission here, which is, basically what we've observed through your tenure in the public office is there are a lot of constitutional rulings that have basically or often, encountered your decisions or your reports or your submissions. In such that we have always felt, perhaps as the public, that there's some sort of like a negative bias towards everything that you produce. I want to refresh you, or perhaps to remind you about the Frede projects and stuff. Because we understood basically in our lowest understanding with regards to politics that that investigation basically looked into persecuting a couple of politicians that were said to have been involved there. But then obviously the constitutional rulings and all the other opposition parties were basically totally against that. How has that then basically influenced the South African political landscape with regards to your office? I mean, the office. Yes, the investigations.
You ask about the strategy. Now we're coming to the issue of constitutional court judgments and why always I was persecuted. The Friede investigation, when I arrived in the institution, it was already there. And the complaint was almost 4 years in the institution.
Yes, definitely.
The CX investigation was launched, I think, around 2009 or something. It was already 7 years in the institution. I'm just trying to show you that those were the
outstanding
investigations which were not done according to our standard operating procedures, and there were delayed investigations. Now you arrived in an institution, you find there's backlog. You are so efficient because you are saying, we cannot delay to investigate.
Any further.
You have pressure from DA saying, we lodged this complaint at Friede. Friede is political. Why I'm saying that? It was because the government of Free State was initiating that project to empower the dairy farmers.
Mm.
You understand what
I
I'm
do.
saying? So that was then encroaching on the whites who are dairy farmers, because it was going to then take
Away some
away.
business from
Exactly.
them. But
We
you're
go
on
to
point.
CX. It's
Mm.
also political, because you have your Bangkok, APSA, apartheid debts, and everything. It's there. It's a time bomb, which I had to learn myself into, and being efficient, saying, you know what, there's a lot of interest which was never paid here, and you don't touch the bank. Our Reserve Bank is not controlled by this country. It's a constitutional institution. I have the right to investigate. But then once you touch the Reserve Bank and the banks,
Yeah.
then you are touching the untouchable, because you are even touching those who control the money, your
Yeah,
Rothschild, your whatever.
what we
So
call the white
then,
monopoly capital.
exactly.
So
So
do,
now I touch that. I then say, no, but here there's money which must be paid back. You don't do that.
Mm.
And that's when it ended up at the Concord, that matter. That's why they had to make sure that the Constitutional Court, for the first time, saying I must pay personal costs. The first time the Constitutional Court saying I might have lied about when I used the Economist in my investigation,
Mm.
which Mogoeng's judgment, which I'm glad history has been made, because any person who would want to get the truth about that investigation, go and read the Mogoeng judgment, because it's clearly indicating what I have done as the public protector. The freedom matter, the investigation was purely based on that company which was brought in, alleged to be owned by the Guptas, and but the fact of
And
the
by the
matter
son
was
of Ace Magashule.
exactly
Mm.
not son. I think it was implicating apparently Ace and Sebenzi Zwane,
Oh,
and
Msebenzi Zwane,
exactly,
who is late.
and apparently that I've removed certain things in Madonsela's report. You remember during the Section 1954 committee, Madonsela said, no, that report, it was still a draft. I never issued a draft, but I was covered with personal costs by Tolmay and them at the High Court. It went to the Concord when we were saying, no, but you are wrong in finding that. Again, I was covered with personal costs. So you see, Uguchi, you touched white monopoly capital, then
you suffer the
yes,
consequences.
they then weaponized the courts against me, because they couldn't weaponize any other thing.
So could that be the reason why then Thuli Madonsela was delaying all these to release all these reports or to finalize?
I don't know, but it's a coincidence that all the reports I was charged for, I think 3 of
were
them,
those that were hanging from his
Thank you.
from her term of office. But you do not want to say that here in this platform that she could have perhaps been asked not to release or not to go any further with such.
Well, that's why I'm saying it's a coincidence.
No, it's
that
okay.
all those reports, I'm covered with personal costs, they led to my removal from office. Because remember, they were part of the charges.
Yes, I remember. No, it leads us. It leads us to that basically. That then in 2023, then you faced an impeachment through a parliamentary process again, based on such that you've basically mentioned. With us as the public or the masses, broader public, we really don't understand. We don't investigate, and we're not even exposed to such processes, and we don't even know what leads to or what influences such processes to take place. But then we look again at the other end when everything is shown on papers or on TV. Then, according to you, because now we are speaking specifically to you, what would you say to us as the broader public? Would you then say it gives us confidence on the fact that you've actually alluded to the fact that you were investigating those that were not supposed to be investigated, and then these parliamentary processes were used to basically persecute you? Then what confidence does it give, or what idea does it give to a normal person sitting at home or watching that? Do we then carry on and have confidence in these constitutional rulings, or to the law itself in South Africa, or even the parliamentarians that sit there?
Unfortunately for you, for this country, is that let me maybe start here. I know the time is against us. The freer the investigation The issues for investigation were purely administrative. How the monies were used, what contract was signed. The issue of political involvement was not even an item for investigation, even under Madonsela. But then after the responses and whatever, the report was issued, remember, accused that I'm protecting Ace and Zwane and whatever.
I recall very well.
then went back and investigated. And indeed, in the investigation, Ace Magashula, there was nothing against him. Zwane, it was the issue that he didn't tell us the truth that he traveled to Dubai,
Dubai,
whatever, Dubai.
Yes, it was Dubai.
Yes. So then in our investigation, because you remember there were Gupta leaks, which I
Yes.
was accused that I must use it. And I'm saying, you can use it as an information, because in the
But who was,
investigation,
who was accusing you of using or who was influencing you to use the
your
Guptas?
outer, Ngerbo outer, these NGOs who are funded by, they are foreign
those-
funded. Abo Kasak Pela were involved, they are foreign funded. So it's a political
So
agenda.
they were basically influencing you.
They were accusing me because they were working with DA. Remember, DA was the complainant in the
Yes.
matter. So, and I was, and even now, Batoyi will tell you, you can't use the Gupta leak. If you are a lawyer, that's not evidence, that's information, because you need to go beyond and check that information. So we had to get Zwane's details, go to Home Affairs, check on the movement control. Indeed, the person traveled. But coming back to what you are saying, that what I say to any other person, some of us, we are chosen to be sacrificial lambs because when we stood by the truth, we made sure that we expose the very same courts. Currently, others will say, but you're losing in courts, you always going to pay. But I'm exposing the very same courts because for me, I can show you the prejudice or the biasness of those
Of the court,
judges,
yes, of the
the
judges.
lies which they said in their judgments or their opinions, which are not the truth. Because those during the Section 194, we had to reveal that Judge Bakwa, in fact, Judge Mulambo, in the first place, in the CR17, you said you cannot, in fact, in the Nkandla, so-called Nkandla matter, now state capture, nothing prevents the public protector to refer to the matters to NPA and whatever, to instruct the NPA to investigate crime. But with the CR17, they said, no,
They
you
shut the
cannot
door.
do. So you understand, Guti, then one public protector, different rules apply. You go to the issue, ye Friday. Judge Tolmay and them said, I changed Madonsela's report. Madonsela comes during the Section 194.
And
there
he
was no
declares
report.
otherwise. And she
And
says
now
there's no
I'm
report.
covered with personal costs. So I do have evidence which shows. But what I will say to any other person, don't keep quiet. For me, I've exposed that, in fact, unfortunately, with the being persecuted by the state, by the executive, by the
state
including
itself,
the
even
president,
the
the
courts.
courts, the legislature, because remember how the Section 194, remember how Janji treated me during the proceedings.
The impeachment process.
Exactly.
I
So I would say to you, take the so-called independence or rule of law with a pinch of salt. Hence, I agree with MK. Now coming to MK, that I believe in this thing that we cannot be ruled by the 11 judges of the Constitutional Court.
But
when we have people who are standing
advocates,
for,
you are jumping the gun there because you're jumping to MK and we still have to talk about EFF. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you, but we've got to let this conversation flow in this manner. That's now from we understand your term of office.
I was removed.
Yes, you were
22
removed.
days before my term expired. I'm supposed to be paid my gratuity. The current public protector now is also fighting me. That money I'm entitled to. Hence, we've appealed to that judgment, because they are saying no.
Oh, have you appealed?
Yeah.
Oh no,
that judgment.
That's lovely because we're going to get to that. But well, I want us now to take a leap to after the impeachment. Yes, after the impeachment process, then we see you after a couple of months. Was it a couple of months? Yes.
It was a month.
It was a month. Oh yes. Then you show up as an EFF member.
Yes.
Yeah, and everyone is like, okay, right. What is happening here? What makes you join the EFF? And in that question, I also want to find out then that you've been working in an independent office as a public protector. Now that you joined the EFF, then you see how politicians or how political organizations basically operate, and in terms of deployment and in terms of influencing powerful organs of states and even the offices. What makes you join the EFF, and how was your journey like within the EFF before we leap to the green and gold?
Yeah. No, I remember I was removed, or the decision was taken on the 11th of September 2023. They voted for my removal. All of them, they voted to remove me. And I think who was not there, it was Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. So
if you say all of them, you're talking about all the ANC MPs.
And that's where the GNU, I mean, that's first time in the history of the ANC.
The GNU.
They vote with the enemy, the DA. I mean, that's what, coming to voting, voting against a constitutional institution head in democracy. So that's where their relationship, I would say, it was sealed, because they could do that, DA name, the ANC. Then, indeed, I was approached by the EFF. I joined the EFF. The 7 cardinal pillars of the EFF were very appealing to me. And I must indicate that when joining the EFF, I worked totally and completely because it was for me a vehicle to still continue to protect the masses. Because as a politician, an honest politician, you would always have the interest of the poor, the marginalized at heart. And how can you be their voice? Because if you are a member of parliament, you are the voice to the voiceless. Honestly, you are not controlled by some master who would want you to just not push their agenda. Now, joining the EFF, a lot of people were saying, no, but why is she joining politics? Why is she not going to practice? Why? Where would I practice when because no one.
You've been tarnished.
Exactly, and that's what DA and them they want, because who would employ me? I mean, I've seen and I've got incidences where whoever I worked with, I mean, look at how they persecuting about Dalimpofu and the lawyers I'm using. There's people who worked in the institution I was working with, they were doing their. But the soon you then show them that you worked with them, they were also tarnished. Then the politics was the only space one can work in. Indeed, I worked, and they took me to parliament, and I even indicated that I appreciate what they did.
I don't mean to be vindictive with this question. Sorry to cut you, but I don't. I just want to find out now that you took up the EFF when they approached you as means
to join them,
means to basically have employment.
No, I said to you, I said myself, I will still continue to fight, because even if I was not taken to parliament, I was still going to be a member of the EFF. I mean, there's lots of projects which one can do on the ground, at the grassroots, to still be a voice
to
the voice. Exactly.
Definitely.
So they saw it fit that, okay, we need you to help us in parliament, in the Justice Portfolio Committee. And indeed, that also helped, because at the end of the day, I must survive as a person. I wouldn't say that's not the contributing factor as well.
We understand very well, and we just have to catch up with time. And this is going to be a very tricky one that I'm going to ask now, and it arises from your discussions. I was calculating the months or the period it took for you to join the EFF, and the decision in Parliament was taken on the 11th of September to release you from being a public protector. Then a month after that would have been October 2023. Then boom, in December 16th of 2023, then Jacob Zuma announces
the party,
the MK party. Would you then declare here that you were totally unaware that there was a creation of MK party? Because we hear that it was created around about September, or at least it came into discussions with others around about September. And I don't want to use this year against you, but we're learning all this here from TV, from the news, from social media.
From
There's
SC and them.
advocates, and yes, Mpofu
Mpofu.
was part of the creation of MK in
didn't-
Long.
I didn't know that there's a party which will be formed by the president. What I know is that EFF, like what they said, they were working very closely before the elections with EFF, ATM, UDM, all those black progressive parties. That I know. That's what they were doing to make sure that they come as a collective force to fight the DA and the DANC, actually, because now it was one thing, and they've seen with the my impeachment, with the way they were conducting themselves. You understand? So I didn't know that the president is forming a political party, Umkhonto weSizwe, but I knew that they were working together.
Or the progressive forces.
Exactly.
To encounter what we learned to be an MPC, that multi-party charter, because
Yes.
for our understanding, which still is confusion to us, is how the IFP, the DA, and all the other smaller parties, the Action SA, and all they formed the multi-party charter to work against the ANC, because they wanted to get rid of the ANC. The Moonshot
Then they
yes.
then changed. I
They
mean, that's politics
completely-
again. And then they ended up being, because they are funded by the Oppenheimers, all of them. Then and the ANC, then they decided to form the GNU. So that's politics for you. And I think whoever called the tune is the one who's feeding you. I mean, we know that.
Who's feeding the MK?
MK is now surviving with the funding from IEC, funding from, remember, when you have members in parliament, you do get a constituency amount. And remember, now they've started the process. Well, the lies that President Zuma is being paid and whatever, it's lies. Because there's also a political party, like in EFF, there's a party levy, which each member of parliament, they deducted even from parliament to the organization.
The party deducts.
Yes. And
it's
that
the
is
same thing
allowed.
that was happening
and
in
even
EFF.
the ANC is doing that. Yes, the EFF is doing it. MK, they've also started doing that process.
I get you very well. Now, look, I've got to ask you this. During your tenure as an MP, EFF MP now, what has been your outstanding achievement, or what do you feel you've achieved? I asked this year, knowing very well that you have an activism approach.
Yeah.
You don't want to be quiet. You want to expose.
Exactly.
But what has been, because it's been a very short period as an
year.
MP. It's been a year. Yeah. What has been that can be viewed as milestones or achievement in that?
I would say outside of parliament, working for the organization, before the elections, I worked as a coordinator of the sub-region, working with the ground forces, being a ground force
in Mpumalanga.
In Mpumalanga, being at home. I mean, I'm from Kwaggafontein, doing door-to-doors and all those,
Yeah.
But then in parliament, remember the way parliament is structured. I will still say to people, because a lot of people would want to go to parliament to be members of parliament. Unfortunately, I said it even during my other interview and people were saying, no, you move to MK because of, if you don't have numbers, even if I'm MK in parliament, nothing will move. Because those people, you bring a brilliant idea, a notice of motion, a notice without motion. Well, there's notice without motion, which we manage under EFF to present, the one where I was saying there must be a hearing of all the public health, what do you call it, social development justice, where we do the hearings for, and there's a committee where we do hearings for the statutory rape of the children who are giving birth, especially kube reportable offense, because currently you find that a child is impregnated by the teacher, or you remember the issue of teenage pregnancy.
Definitely.
If it's a child who's 15 below and is pregnant, the teacher it must report that. The nurse who's delivered, it should be obligatory. So we need to discuss that. That's what I've pushed for.
In Parliament.
In Parliament.
To
And
basically influence what you
yes,
call
and
this.
it will be done.
Oh, okay.
And then it has been adopted, that motion. The motion where I was also saying the NPA should be a Chapter 9 institution. Again, it was the presentation I made because of the manifesto of the EFF, which is saying that we should be having an NPA, which is a Chapter 9 institution. And we should delink to president we appoint ama-Chapter 9 ama-Reserve Bank because ubane influence over them. So we're saying if we Chapter 9, you are purely appointed by Parliament, no president must intervene. So we want the constitution to be changed to do that. So that's one of the lines which one
you've achieved. Pushing, you've been pushing. Now suddenly you are in MKP.
Through EFF, because I must agree that it's through the mandate and the manifesto of the EFF.
But exactly our next question will be, now you are suddenly a provincial convener in Mpumalanga for MKP.
Yes.
Now does it mean then you've got to go and somersault all the programs that you've implemented in the EFF, because you obviously have to
they don't differ. They don't differ, because I remember I told you, well, in one interview I said, if you check the manifesto of the EFF, you check the people's mandate of the MK. We want land. It's true. We want the means of production as blacks. We want to empower the masses. And indeed, if there's something they have which I don't agree with, definitely I won't agree with that, because democratic centralism, I must stick to what the MK is saying.
So, Advocate, you are saying you EFF and MK and MKP are reading from the same Bible. It's not going to be difficult for you to go back to the very same people that you were wearing red shirts to be giving out these shirts now. So say, I'm back here.
I'm saying to you, their policies are not different that much, because their policies are focusing on the marginalized, the oppressed.
Yes.
Then if there's somewhere where their policy is totally different to what we believe in, definitely I'll stick to mine. And it won't be a problem for me, because we have that the progressive forces, caucus.
Yes.
In Nelspruit, in Mpumalanga. If there's things which we can agree on with the EFF, because they are pushing the agenda,
the same
agenda of the progressive, and because our focus, all of us, is not for our own selfish reasons. Remember, we always, even in the preamble of MK, it's very clear that our first is to take land. Our second is to make sure that black unity. Our third is to make sure that all mineral resources and everything.
It's okay. I don't know if I'm expressing this question well, but my question is, it will be easy for you
to recruit them.
Yeah, to recruit the very same people that you recruited
exactly.
to EFF.
No, a lot of them, including in my family, now they've moved with me.
Okay. No, it's okay.
And there is more who are going to move with me. I must tell you, sub-region Tembisile Hani, where I come from.
You're giving them the shirts now.
It was the best performing when I was there in the province. So now I'm giving them T-shirts, and it will be the best performing for MK. That's what I'm saying.
Hey. No, it's okay. Fast forward, because we don't have enough time. That is how controversial politics is. You know, you are standing on one platform, the next.
You know what? It's not controversial, and people have so much. In this country, they've infused so much hate because we hate each other, and it's a principle of divide and rule. You find insults which are not necessary, because if you can just sit back and say, but even if she's there, she will still be making sure that umuntu omnyama is not continuously oppressed. And that's what whites are. You'll never see a white person attacking another white person. You'll never see DA insulting Utrolip, for instance. You were our member, now you're...
Definitely.
So, but with us,
No, it's okay.
So hateful.
I love it that you are putting it out there to the viewers so they understand. I mean,
it's not necessary. And it's not even necessary to be angry at you and insult you and not even talk to you when you move away from my organization. I mean, people resign from one organization and work to another organization and work in another organization. But Tinasi turn into this hate. And which is
we
making
hail insights at each other.
Exactly.
Now, there are two issues, very key issues, before we let you leave. These are submitted by all our viewers at home,
Okay.
you know. So you must forgive me being difficult at times. The issue we want to know about the issue of Phala Phala, then your standpoint, and we also want to go a bit into your position or your perspective with regards to the issues of these foreign nationals and spaza shops before we ask you to give us a message. But the issue of Phala Phala, I want to ask it to you this way, or to present it to you this way. Now you are a former public protector.
Yes.
There is a current public protector, Koleka Gcaleka. You must have huge insights into, like how you were explaining earlier in the show, about the processes and everything of that sort. And I love the fact that you mentioned about how the WMC shuts the investigation into the CR reports, because they opened up everything else that they were trying to influence to persecute some people. But when it came to the CR17, I mean,
17,
yes, they shut it out. Now it leads us to this Phala Phala saga.
The same thing happened.
It's the same thing
because I touched that with a complaint lodged by ATM under the Executive Members Ethics Act, which obligates the public protector to investigate, and which then is the one which made me to investigate, or the public protector to investigate politicians, especially the executive, not any other politician. That act said you investigate the president, the minister, the premier, the MEC. And people mustn't confuse it, because you remember during CR17 being insulted. Yeah, why are you not investigating Nkosazana? Who funded Nkosazana? Nkosazana was not a minister when she was campaigning for being a president. So yeah, I'm clarifying to the people.
In the executive.
Exactly. Now that law says you need to finalize the matter within 30 days, which unfortunately it was not possible, because you need to give the president an opportunity to respond. I gave the president the questions, the 31 questions, which I was.
So you started the investigation.
I started.
Why will then the next PP not be able to do what you did with the investigations that were hanging from the previous one, which was Thuli? Why will Koleka not then carry on with this investigation?
No, she did, Dangiti, because the file was opened. I sent the 31 questions. And when I sent the 31 questions, remember, instead of responding, then I think I sent the questions on the 7th. And then I was suspended on which date? I think a day or 2 days after. Hence, the Western Cape High Court, you remember the way we presented the matter, they indicated their findings, Pella, as well. History has no blank pages. Those 3 judges, he was vindictive, he was very much, my suspension was unlawful and all those. So the 31 questions were sent. Instead of responding, then he suspended me. Koleka then continued with the investigation, which is fine because the file is there.
But it was under fear then, because then you touched
she was yes, under fear. And I remember she was also marketing herself, because
and she was new, fairly new.
No, she was acting as a public protector.
Okay.
Now it's then either you choose to get the position of the public protector or you don't get it. So she had to make sure that she issued the report which favors the president, so that she can get the position.
Will it ever be opened for investigation again, or once it's shut, it's shut?
No, it will be. Remember, it's going to the Concord now on the EFF, remember, took it to court. It's going to be heard by the Constitutional Court. Is it 26 November? But anyway, knowing the courts, the way they are so political,
They're still pierced.
But it must still be dealt with by politicians.
Then what can we do? What can we do as the public to ensure that we hold those accountable?
You are so pacified as public, because people are hungry. People are not looking into making sure that you are not angry enough.
You allowed
him to just get away with a number of things COVID, monies were eaten, you were quiet, petrols are expensive, we had load shedding for how many days? You are quiet, South Africans, you are, don't do anything.
Which reminds me, you have Busisiwe Mkhwebane Foundation,
Yes.
which we follow now and again,
Mm.
and they try to raise these issues. What is that limits or limitations that basically do not allow these organizations to have a voice at championing such?
Remember, a foundation is in different aspects. There's a foundation which is well founded. These ones which are funded by your George Soros Open Society Foundation and whatever, because they want to capture. Then there's a foundation which will just be a foundation to put information out there. It doesn't have resources. We don't have money. But then if we had money, the main aim is to make sure that we protect those who are, especially professionals. If you are a black professional, you are excelling in what you do. You remember the first, when we launched Abu
I remember
Brian
Brian Molefe,
myself,
Machela
Abu
Koko,
SC. We're trying to say, you know what, blacks who are professionals who are doing their work will always be a threat to whites, and they will always bring them down. They will always persecute them the way I was persecuted. So for me, is to be their voice as well, to say, let's use the foundation to bring those issues forth. And I mean, there's this Ukwina now, Yamkumbul. Yes, will be arrested soon as well. And she's persecuted.
And Nabo Mamumieni,
exactly. Look, the late Mieni. Why you just find her guilty when she was part of the board? Where have you seen that? Huh?
I remember
you
very well
in who looted, deposited 500 million in one account, or what, 5 billion in some account. Nothing happened to him. He was even paid.
We leave a subject.
A lot. Yeah, yes.
Look, let us just run quickly to what is currently taking place. In 2 minutes, we shall be summing this up. What is your standpoint now with regards to what is happening? I'm asking this here because I understand that through in your career, you have been somehow a senior manager in Home Affairs or Home Affairs. So I want you to give us an interpretation of this so-called law that says foreign individuals need to basically have an investment of approximately 5 million before they open up a business or whatever.
Yeah, it's true. Before going there, the pala, those dollars, I think it will be interesting now to see what Trump will be doing, because it's a crime in the US to have your dollars, because it's like you're attacking their sovereignty. So we hope Trump will act on that, especially that.
But then again, on the very same note, the same Cyril Ramaphosa has just taken up the presidency of the G20, which US is part of.
Now it will be dealt with. It will be dealt with. The issue, yes, I was I'll say I'm an immigration specialist, actually, because I worked at Home Affairs for more than 20 years. The Immigration Act, yes, is very clear. For you to open business, you need to have that investment, you get a business visa. But in South Africa, unfortunately, we allowed ourselves our immigration laws have been exploited. When we signed the conventions, 1994, especially the UN Convention on Refugees, we signed it without reservations, meaning other countries, they signed with reservations, and they would say, if you're an asylum seeker, you cannot move from Pakistan or Ethiopia and jump all these countries and come here. Other countries are saying, your first country of safety, you apply for asylum there. South Africa, we didn't make reservations. Hence, we have Ethiopians, Somalians who are applying for for asylum. And the other issue, other countries are saying, we restrict your movement. We keep you in a camp or in a processing center. South Africa, we didn't make those reservations. Now, again, the courts have caused this mess in South Africa, because by then, Home Affairs was saying, no, as an asylum seeker, you come, you apply for asylum, whilst processing you. The problem is that, where are you going to sleep? What are you going to eat? Then Home Affairs said, no, you cannot open a spaza or any other business. The courts, I think it was a matter of Tantushen versus Home Affairs and whatever, said no. But these people must be
survive.
surviving. Hence, this thing, yama spaza shop. So all these people, most of them, you find that they still under an asylum permit. You find ukuthi Home Affairs in a backlog eningi yama because they were rejected. Then you find ukuthi a standing committee must review, it's delaying. Or umuntu appealile because there's a process you appeal, and then appeal in a backlog.
But what causes such? Because I mean, we are efficient. We are
how
a third world country.
efficient?
Yes, we are resourced. Is it not intentional? Is it
Yeah,
not?
it's intentional, and unfortunately, that's why I'm saying even the courts sometimes they play a role in that. But now they are actually the biggest mischief is our constitution, because our constitution says everyone has a right, besides the right to vote. Everyone. The only right applicable to a citizen is the right to vote and the right to practice a certain trade and in the Bill of Rights. Therefore, this issue as is tolagiyo ukuthi these people will come back and say, but I'm an asylum seeker, I must survive. You understand? But that is also huge. I mean, this thing of creating a chaos, I think I was telling you when we were coming here, it's interesting that industry, they say it's 1 billion or how many billions industry, shops.
Yeah.
Now these children are dying. It was now done slowly. Now you see who's penetrating the townships. You save an box. Who owns you save an box?
So this can be you can say that
White
this is a fabrication.
Exactly. Hence in ESCOM there was that fabrication. IPPs, so that they can bring IPPs. Who owns IPPs? And how stable is that issue?
It's very sad. We're going to go on a yes or no now, then we leave. Yeah. Right. So tell us, when is MK taking over KZN as the majority?
It must soon. Again, we are too quiet. I think we should be forceful not forceful in a bad way, but we should be applying our pressure. Soon we must.
You just ran away from being a radical.
Radical is allowed. There's a revolution which is radical, which is not violent.
Yeah.
You need to put your foot down.
Yeah, because I think look, we very neutral in this show.
I mean, you are so quiet. We own 46%.
Yeah.
Imagine.
and look, it was very interesting to see how it was going to play out with the other parties that were going to be in coalition government with the MK provincially. More especially with the NFP. We are going to be hosting the NFP president here next week. Okay. And I'll be asking him what happened, what basically
I think
triggered.
You must ask him as well how much maybe he got from the
other side
and stuff like that.
No, it's okay. As a former public protector, just in that space, how would you then like your legacy to be, renowned or remembered as a public
protector? I mean, first time in the history of that institution to acquire a clean audit, because we had to make sure that we lead by example. Not even 1, 3 of the clean audits. We've assisted, I think out of all the matters which we dealt with, 90% of the complaints are bread and butter issues where we help the people to survive. First time in the history of that institution, I was serving as the president of the African Ombudsman and Mediators Association, as well impacting a lot in the African continent, and also trying to bring to the African continent that this institution, as the Ombudsman or Public Protector, is there as well to help issues with conflicts, because any conflict, because as Public Protector, we specialize in conflict resolution, bringing parties together. So yes, those interventions which one will bring. So it was the best performing. And I would even say with a straight face that I would say I'm the only Public Protector who made sure that indeed when you speak about performing your duties independently, without fear or favor, I did that at my detriment, because I'm now at this situation I'm at because of that.
I'll ask 3 questions. You answer those, I'll never ask again. It's just a very simple question. The first is, every MK member, or actually every MK leader or champion, understands that MK emanates from the fact that they were disgruntled in the ANC, as per the public perception. Do you like or hate the ANC?
Not the ANC, which is I would say, you know what, if the ANC is the only means to, which they didn't do for the past 8 years, and not the ANC, which is, if we can use policies which can be truly radical in economic transformation, I would say I would love the ANC.
Okay.
But not the current ANC.
Okay. In brief, advocates, tell us what type of a leader in South Africa is required to ensure that they lead this country in honesty, transparency, and to lead us as a progressive front.
Somebody who's very honest in the sense that they truly are able to put their lives at the altar of persecution for the people of South Africa. Like what President Zuma has done, a caliber of a person who can say, whether I'm taken to court and imprisoned, first time in the history of the country, you find a president being imprisoned by the Constitutional Court, a civil contempt. That's very much glaring and very problematic. We want a leader who wouldn't be captured, who wouldn't sell their soul, who will know that I'm serving the people more than anything else to make sure that people are empowered. So that's the kind of leader, and it's very few of those.
Last question is, we in South Africa are so content with all the material things. I drive a Mercedes-Benz, they drive BMWs, my friends drive
it's a
G-Wagons.
We call it the curse of a middle class.
Oh, okay.
It's a curse because they trap us to that.
Now I want to find out.
You are just trapped, you are working, and then once you are dismissed, you need bondi. Yes, you trapped. We are like this.
That was my question exactly. That will I then do you feel personally that I will be able to support the revolution if it had to come? That's
why I'm saying we are too quiet.
Are you doing anything to train the future or the youth of South Africa to be unhung from?
If we can have radical institutions like the MK, if we can be given an opportunity to rule this country. Remember, if we got the 2/3 majority, we'll change the constitution, because that constitution, unfortunately, is the one which is failing us. Because the kind of mandate which you have for the Reserve Bank, the kind of mandate you have for... South Africa is very rich in mineral resources, but you go to Mpumalanga, Langbuya Kona, people are very, very poor. Go to Northwest, KZN, for instance. How many people are poor? Look at the mineral resources we have. Who owns those? You understand?
My questions are done. They're not done because I don't have any more, but it's because of time limits. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Ukuzivakashela at Moza Studios with Political Plus with uNkosizulu. Siyabonga kakhulu.
Siyabonga.